and welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday. It is How to Tarot Tuesday, and what that is it's a series where every week I go ahead and post a video that talks about one of the 78 card art tarot. Each week we focus on one card, and what I do is I go ahead and I describe the card from the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I do also pick two other tarot decks that I think best represent the card in question. And then after the beginning of the video, we talk about the meaning and the symbols of the card. And then the second part of the video, you the viewer, get to choose from 3 tarot decks. And we'll go ahead and see how does this card manifest in your life. Today we're doing a really fun one. We've been through the Ace through the 10 of the Pentacles suit. And today we get to start with the court cards for Pentacles, which is the Page of Pentacles. Now, if you ever want to skip straight to your reading, the timestamps are in the description box below, as are the names and authors of the decks that I used. When we do get to your reading part, I am going to clarify your reading with oracle cards, and that too is also listed in the description box. But we'll go ahead and jump right to it. When you look at the Page of Pentacles card, you see a young person, almost a child, kind of like a preteen, not quite little, but not a teenager. And you see a very natural scene in the background. You see mountains and grass and rolling fields. The person is wearing a tunic, and he's wearing a kind of a wraparound hat of somebody who's a novice. And then he's holding up a pentacle to which he is looking at intently. He seems to be analyzing the pentacle, but he's holding it on the tips of his fingers as if he is, looking at it and with, perplexed, or with vision. So you see also in the background that what looks like kind of a cultivated field, which can be the sign of a farmer, but then you also do see like dandelions and kind of open spaces, which really conveys a lot of nature. Now, the Page of Pentacles is really beautiful for so many reasons. All of the pages are learners, right? As we get into the court, the page, the knight, the queen, the king for each of the suits, you will see that it's almost as if they hold their suit in their hand. So, for instance, the Page of Pentacles is holding the Ace of Pentacles. He's holding the one pentacle in his hand, right? And aces are about beginnings, right? All of the aces show a hand being, held out from the sky. In the court cards, the ace is being held by a person. And in this case, it's being held by a young person. Whenever I think of the pages, I like to think of pages are messengers. They also do things in little bursts, right? I always say, I always compare it to the movie, if you've ever seen A Christmas Carol, right? Or if you've ever read the book. After the night of visiting the ghosts, Ebenezer Scrooge yells down to one of the children and says, "Go get a goose, go get the biggest goose you've ever seen," right? And he's kind of yelling to the kid from a window, and he's like, I'll flip you a coin if you go do this. And the kid is kind of waiting, and what it is with pages, the messenger's kind of like that. Children or the pages, they're very direct. They're not multifaceted in the message that they bring. They come, they bring the message, and then they go, right? While the knights are a little bit more on a longer mission, and then the queen and kings are the more mature, intuitive and leaders of the suit. So that said, when you look at the Page of Pentacles, the first thing that you see is you think about having an effect, right? And having an effect is like that messenger. It's like, telling the boy, to go get a goose, right? It's someone who is taking action, but they're taking action on like a very direct, basic scale. So in that, also with, pentacles are what have value, and they're physical things, right? Pentacles are physical. It's money. It's it's things that are tangible, things that are part of the real world. So a lot of times when you see, when you think of the page, you think of making your plans real, right? Because you're a student, it's like taking that ace and learning what to do with it for the first time, and this would be in the physical, real world realm. The other thing is that it means that you have the ability to start molding your physical world. Again, because it's a child, it's usually indicating that it's someone who's new to this. It's not someone who's very experienced, but you're learning how to do it for the first time. So in that sense, it can mean that maybe a lot of times I do think of those little how-to videos. Maybe you're learning how to caulk your bathtub, or maybe you're watching a video here on YouTube. I remember one time I was changing out the shower head in my bathroom, and I really did need some help, and that was a physical thing, right? To follow it step by steps, to actually see it on a video, and then do it in real life is kind of this kind of element. It does also involve, with all the nature, it can be someone who's learning to do something in the natural realm. Like, for instance, you could see this as being somebody who is interested in nature, maybe someone who likes to learn how to plant things or is fascinated by animals or insects. Sometimes when you see this, it can be a message about some kind of program about that. Maybe you're taking a program. I do also think a lot of times I think of outdoor clubs like Girl Scouts or Cub Scouts. So, and again, this being a child, this could absolutely pertain to a son or daughter or child that participates in those kind of activities. It can be something like soccer, if you see this next to a competition card, or something that takes place in fields or out in nature. It can also be environmental, and what I love about this is that it can be something like you learning to do environmental things. Like, it can be messages about recycling. It could be a message that, hey, your recycling's being picked up on Friday instead of Thursday. Or it could very well be an article that you read on how to do something environmental, like how to plant something, how to create a compost, pile, how to recycle nutrients in order to farm better. The other thing is that it's about achieving tangible results. So a lot of times, it can be about, saving money or learning how to apply money for the first time. I see this more in kind of like maybe learning how to balance your checkbook, or maybe learning how to pay bills or manage a bank account. Like maybe you opened the first checking for your teenager. So they don't necessarily, I know this is the image of a younger person, but, it can be someone learning for the first time in that way. And it's about kind of setting events in motion. Sometimes it can be that, it can be an email that's the down payment for something. Maybe you're starting school. That's the other thing, is that actually when we get to the middle card, we're going to talk about that a little bit, where, it can be a message about, about learning. But it is, again, because the pentacle's the seed, right? It's the first, it is the ace. It just means that you have the ace in your hands, right? You have the ability to make something very tangible, something physical, real, and you're learning how to do that. Now, the other thing is that it is about being prosperous. It's kind of like drawing on what you need, like sometimes it can be that, you evaluating your resources to see what you have to do something. Sometimes it can be an evaluation of physical materials. I know sometimes when you're doing certain projects, you can say, well, I don't have the money to go out and do this, but I have this in the garage, I could go ahead and grab that and it would work, right? The other thing is that sometimes it can be, it can be a sign of being patient or being kind of thrifty. Again, maybe you're trying to budget in a new way. So sometimes this page can show up of maybe you're saying, okay, I don't want to continue to spend money on this. Let me go ahead and try to go a week without it. And that's you being a page, right? It's you trying something new for the first time, but you being mindful of money. It does mean it talks about going out to meet success, and kind of enriching yourself. Okay, we ran into some technical difficulties. The power went out for like the whole neighborhood. So if you bear with me, we'll go ahead and get this back on track. So just give me a minute. Oh, hey guys, we're back. We had some excitement there. We had a little bit of a power outage, but we are back on track now. So we're just gonna try to pick up where we left off. And what we were talking about is, we were talking about how it is, the pentacle is the seed of security, and so a lot of times it's about learning how to be secure, like how you can take that start or take that investment and turn it into, kind of use it to set things in motion and to achieve your dreams in a physical sense. Now, it definitely means being persistent. The one thing about the pentacle suit is that the pentacles are the slowest moving. When it comes to time, a pentacle usually means years. So they're, it's someone who's a little bit more of an easygoing person. They kind of someone who takes their time and really. The other thing is that it usually means someone who, when they learn, it being a child, they learn how to do things in a very plotting way, meaning that they know how to set everything in a very steady way, right? They're not afraid to take their time to learn and do things the right way, right? Even if that takes some time. So it is about being persistent. It is also about someone who works really hard. So a lot of times, if it is a child or if you're doing a good job at work, it can mean that you're very reliable, right? The other thing is that it usually means that you're a very solid learner. Like when you learn, you ever heard the expression, I know when I learn how to do something, I know how to do it really well. And this is what takes us into the second card, is that this card is from my newer deck, the Star Seeker Tarot. And you see the person with the pentacle on an open book, right? And I love this. You see books and you see a little clock for the time, right? So again, with the pentacle being a slower mover, it can mean a slow mover, but meaning that things that take time. I love the fact that it can mean a book learner. It can be someone who learns the traditional way. Like, I know in this day and age everything is so electronic, you can watch a video and know how to do something. Here it's almost like, maybe you are the type of learner who learns by reading, or the other thing is that it really speaks to me of someone who learns the more traditional way, right? Like I feel like nowadays people just don't read as much, right? Those classic textbooks, right? And that's what I think of, like someone who knows the textbook way to do things. Or I also think of by the book, right? Doing something by the book. So it's kind of taking that realistic approach, it's taking that practical approach. The other thing is that it can really be using the tools at hand, and we'll get into that with the third card. But a lot of times it's about, what I also kind of see with this card is it's about, the pentacles are practical in the sense that they're not real daydreamers. So a lot of times you can see this as being kind of, and not to typecast, but it does tend to be someone who's good at math or science. It could be the person who really, as you're learning, you like the way that is very structured, like you like a structured way of learning. It's definitely the person this is someone who's not bored by, combing over facts of something, right? This could be the child who likes to do the formulas in math, or maybe they're, I always saw it, like, I remember when my niece was little, she used to love to stack things. Like, if you ever see a child who's good at building or good at the kind of the math side of things really early on, it's almost like you like the practical, structured ways of how things work in the physical world. You know, what is going to give you that result? You know, learning that, you know, if you stack Legos in this way, it's going to make this shape. You know, the things that, you know, kind of using the real tried and true facts of something in order to create something tangible that is very, you know, that is proven, right? I always think of something that's kind of proven. The other thing is that it can also be a respect for material things. Again, it can be, you know, somebody who the other thing that I think of when I think of a page is it might be a child who has a respect for maintaining their things, or maybe, you know, you're learning how to maintain something. So a lot of times it can be, you know, learning how to care for something. But I do also, you know, I think of the earth signs like Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo, and especially Virgo children. You know, they're the ones that usually, if they pull out all their toys, then they put all the toys back into a bucket and, you know, store it neatly. You know, it's almost like that person. It can also be the child who just, again, you know, I kind of think of, and there's all sorts of personalities when it comes to children, but you know how there's some personalities that are just very liberal. You know, they don't care if they kind of knock a toy around or cover it in stickers. But, you know, Page of Pentacles would really be like someone who takes good care of things and wants to make sure that everything is maintained so it lasts in the long run, right? Something that lasts, you know, something quality. The other thing is that it can be a child that at an early age cares about the quality of things, right? You know, that's, you know, that cares that things are done in a very pristine way. Like they can be a little bit more of the regimed type of personality. The other thing is that it can be in the sense that it's a page, it can be a new beginning, right? Definitely similar to the Ace of Pentacles. It can be about, you know, starting or being on, you know, starting off on the right foot to, you know, to go down the journey of something, of learning how to do something. And a lot of times, and especially with the books here, it's usually technical know-how, right? Maybe you are studying something about engineering, or maybe you're learning how to change the oil in your car, right? But it's definitely something in the details. The other thing is that it can be some kind of detailed paperwork. Again, you know, in a message sense, maybe you were given, you know, maybe this is an application for something that was sent to you. Maybe it's some kind of quiz that you need to take or some kind of form that you need to fill out. Again, with the pages being messengers, you know, it can be a messenger of something. It can also mean that you have a good attention to detail, right? You might be a little novice at it. You might be a little, you know, you might not be an expert. Sometimes I see this come up when I'm doing my taxes, and you know, it's one of those things where you can use those online programs to do your taxes where you just click the buttons, but you really are paying attention to what it's asking you. So, you know, you're not an expert at it, but you're very, you know, you still, you know, pay attention to the details of what's involved because it involves money, right? And it's important. Now, the other thing is that it can be representative of a journal. Maybe you're reading some kind of article about nature or finance or investment or business. And again, I love this image because it really is kind of depicts that kind of book learning. And then, you know, lastly, you know, it can be a sign of homework, or again, just a very practical kind of down to earth kind of person. Um, you know, sometimes it can mean that it can indicate a person like a young child, but also with the pentacles being physical needs. It can be kind of a sign that you may want to slow down a little bit. Maybe you've been kind of rushing, and it's really, when you do that, it doesn't give you a chance to really absorb the knowledge the way that you like to. So a lot of times the page in the upright is really kind of permission to take your time, right? It means that the seed of your endeavor, like things will turn out better if you actually give it the time that the situation or the task requires. Now, the last deck we went with, which I think is adorable, I really do love the pages in this deck, is we got the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant, and I think this is adorable. You have this little girl, and again a child, holding up a coin, right? And she has a little lemonade stand, right? And I think that's so great. And what I love is that, she's got lemons at her feet. And I still think of my little niece when I see these cards sometimes, because when she was little, she held a lemonade stand. And, she's, from a young age, she did little business kind of things, like when you start to understand how you can make money or how you can organize things, or, even in business, or even if it really does speak to me of nature too. If you have a child who likes nature, likes to see the way things grow or the way things accumulate. But this definitely speaks of the material side. One other thing with my little niece is when she was little, she had this little change purse that was in the shape of a sock, and she'd keep all her coins in it. And the thing was dragging. It was like a little sock that was dragging on the floor around her. But she was a good little saver, right? And it is kind of like that. It's almost like with a page, you're new to something, but you understand the importance of it. So a lot of times it can mean saving money as well. The other thing is that it's somebody who's willing to learn, and someone who's willing to put the effort in to learn something of a practical nature. The other thing is that you're willing to put in the time to make sure that you learn it right, right? But the other thing is, a lot of times it just means a very diligent youth against I always think of this as the little adult card. Sometimes if you have a little adult in your life, someone who's young, but they just seem like they have a really old soul, or they just seem so practical for their age. I really do think that when I see, especially with the little lemonade stand, it's someone who's an entrepreneur from a young age, or someone who likes to learn, about practical things like that. Now, when we look, one other thing too is that a lot of times this energy means somebody who's very good about keeping their commitments. And again, with the page being a messenger, it's also someone who keeps their word, right? If you've ever heard the expression, my word is my bond, right? The other thing I kind of think of, which I think is kind of sweet, it's almost kind of an innocent gesture. Have you ever seen those kind of agreements where it's on a handshake, right? There's a great story about this beach in Delaware where there's what they call Funland, which is an amusement park, like bumper cars and the Ferris wheel. It's a good sized amusement park that's right on the boardwalk in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. And what happened was the same owners had owned it for many, many years. And then I think it was in 1967, the owners decided to go ahead and part with it and sell it to a new management group that is also family owned and operated. And it's so great because we talked about the Ten of Pentacles, and this is going to play in, so I think this is a great bridge of a story. And what happened was there was no legal agreement to it. And again, like a page, it was, okay, I'm going to sell that. I am agreeing to sell this to you, and let's shake on it, right? But my handshake is my bond. I'm good to my word, right? And the crazy thing that happened was less than 7 days later, less than a week after the handshake agreement, one of the worst storms came in and totally tore up the boardwalk. Like really, like it pulled equipment from the taffy place and threw it out in the ocean. It was that big of a storm, and it really tore up the amusement park. And you would think that someone, with a handshake agreement could just back out of the deal, right? But both owners collaborated. Both owners came in and repaired it, and they stuck to the handshake deal. And that's, again, that's what I think of, someone who's reliable like that. You know, someone that you would know that even if you don't have it in writing, that you could trust this person, right? Even though it's a new deal. Now, if we go ahead and look at the Page of Swords in reverse, the first thing that you kind of think of is a little bit of someone who's a little bit, it can be a little, someone who's a little bit spacey with the practicality, not in a bad way, but you know, the first thing that you kind of think of is someone who might try to grasp kind of practical concepts, but it might be hard with them, for them. Sometimes this can be a little bit of a sign of a learning deficiency. So if somebody, you know, it can be something like dyslexia or, you know, or troubles, you know, troubles with learning. A lot of times it can mean an unexpected expense. Sometimes, again, with it being kind of the page being messengers, sometimes I think of it as those little annoying things where, you know, sometimes it can be education related where all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, you need to pay this parking pass fee, or you need to, the price of this book went up, so it's going to cost you that much more. It's almost like those little pings that, you know, those little emails or those little dings that say, okay, hey, pay this. You know, if you see this next to something like the Chariot, if the page in reverse next to the Chariot, it could be that maybe, you know, maybe you ran a red light and now you're paying, you know, the lovely $50 to $70 fee, you know, and you learned your lesson, right? Okay, let me make sure that I mind, you know, where I'm going. Sometimes it can mean a little bit of red tape or hurdles. You know, it can mean that you're trying to do your due diligence and you're being blocked, or it's going slower than it needs to. Sometimes it can be, you know, delay in negotiations. You know, maybe you are just trying to get, you know, I kind of see this as being like maybe you're just trying to get the payoff for something and it's taking forever, or, you know, you really need something done and it's getting bogged down, or just it's something simple and little, but it's crucial, you know, it's required, it's related to money, and it's, you know, for whatever reason, it's not coming in. Now, sometimes it can be carelessness, like somebody who did, you know, did something that was impractical because they were just not paying attention, especially if you see this next to, you know, some swords kind of suits. Sometimes it can be ingratitude. It can be someone who just, you know, doesn't care, who you might have, you know, this would be someone who kind of glosses over, you know, like maybe they really do need to do the book learning, or, you know, but they don't even bother to, they don't want to. It's almost like, okay, sure, fine, you paid for me to go to college, but, you know, they don't even want to get started, right? The page is blocked, and the page is the learner. It's the first step. Sometimes it can be a difficulty with a contract. Sometimes it can be a closed-mindedness, like, you know, again, you're just, you know, not wanting to, you know, sometimes it can be repetitiveness, like monotony, you know, like when something gets really rote, you know, repetitive, kind of dreary, you think of the dirge, you know, like if you're doing the same, you know, and again, that can be something that you deem as boring, you know, maybe you have to do math homework, or maybe you have to repeat the same thing every single day, and it's just really, you know, not, you know, sometimes it can be a sign of someone who works as a cashier, you know, doing something repetitive, you know, taking money, giving change, and it's not very stimulating. It's a little bit, you know, monotonous. So, you know, there's a lot of boredom that can be with it. Sometimes it can mean ignorance, you know, just flat out that someone doesn't know how to do something that's money related, you know. Again, it can be someone who's a little bit frivolous with money. Like you might be trying to teach someone how to balance it well, but they just, you know, they're being kind of flippant with it, and like, well, I don't need to know that, and you know. Sometimes it can be a little bit of just a lack of common sense, you know, just not, you know, not doing things by the book, or not really caring. Sometimes it can be a little bit of, it can be shoddy research. Like maybe you're trying to write a paper, but you know, the facts of something, or you know, you gloss over something. This could notoriously be that you know, last minute research paper that you just completely, you know, went to Wikipedia and put absolutely no effort into it. Either that, or you were supposed to facts, you know, check something with the facts, you know, fact check something, and it, either the facts were wrong, or you know, there was some kind of lax, you know, when something lacks. It can be glossing over details or ignoring important details. Maybe there is some kind of paperwork that you really need to give some extra attention to. Otherwise, you could, I definitely see this in the reverse as like a warning sign that, you know, you can make a big mistake based on something really small that you glossed over, right? So pay attention to the details. That's definitely, you know, when it's in the reverse. Sometimes it can be repeating past mistakes. Again, you know, you're staying in the page energy, you know, and that's money related. Maybe, you know, you've run red lights before and you've paid that ticket before, and you promised you wouldn't do it again, and then you end up paying the same thing, and it's like, okay, when am I going to learn, right? Sometimes it can be, you know, it can be moodiness, again, with the pentacles being more the practical side. If you see this next to a cups card, sometimes it could be laziness, or you know, just someone who's not willing to put the, you know, the physical money or effort into doing something right. Sometimes it can be resentment or self-pity. Again, it's like, you know, you can look at it like, well, you know, I want to make this money, but I can't, you know, or, you know, woe is me, you know, I can't even bother. You know, if you see this next to like a swords card, maybe like the Nine of Swords, you might be, you know, filling your own head with negative self-talk. Sometimes it can be wastefulness, like maybe you're, you know, being kind of frivolous with, and in the nature sense, you know, that can be, you know, waste in a kind of environmental sense. It can be waste in a money sense. Maybe you're throwing money away almost childishly, you know, at something that doesn't, you don't, you know, you could save money if you really made an effort. Sometimes it can mean jealousy, again, because it's such a child's energy. It could be, you know, if you're seeing this next to a card, that could, you know, indicate like maybe the devil, or, you know, it can be envy. You can feel like you're the page with no money, and you're looking. So like if you saw the page in reverse next to the devil, next to maybe the King of Pentacles, it's like, or the Ten of Pentacles, you could be like, oh, look at all the money they have and I have nothing, and you know, that kind of. A lot of times it can be excessive conformity. It can be conformity that's really keeping you down. Like maybe there's a family expectation that you be this certain way, and it's almost becoming kind of oppressive. Either that, or, you know, sometimes next to family cards, this can be some kind of pressure to behave a certain way that's being applied to a child. So maybe if you have a child and you're afraid that, you know, they're being pressured to be kind of perfect, or to do things a certain way. Now, in that same vein, I do see this card in reverse when it comes to the astronomical pressure related around studies, like of school. You do see it quite a lot, that, you know, sometimes kids are put under the expectation that you must get all A's, you can't, you know, and sometimes it can affect the emotional health of children, right? You know, there are children who feel overwhelmed by school, they feel pressured, they feel like, you know, not good enough, and it causes a lot of, you know, can cause really, really bad side effects, including depression and other things. So, you know, sometimes when you see a Page of Pentacles in reverse, especially, you know, like around those kids who are expected to be little doctors, or to have, you know, high IQ and be, you know, the best in math and science, and, you know, they study all the time, and they, you know, they get no personal life. You could see that with the page in reverse. Sometimes it can be a sign of a poor choice with an educational matter. Like maybe you just there was, and again, it being a small decision, you know, something that wasn't the best decision to make. The other thing is that sometimes it can be an illness for a child, and, you know, possibly again with the pentacles being the physical self. The other thing is that sometimes it can be someone who loves to study maybe too much. It can be someone who's a little withdrawn. They're someone who is all about learning, 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 that they really don't, it might be an imbalance in their life a little bit where they might be studying too much or studying too hard again. And the last thing is sometimes it can be an overly focus that, that phenomenon where you can't see the forest from the trees, right? Maybe you're over analyzing. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a critical energy where, again, you're acting childish, not in a bad way, but, it's that juvenile kind of criticism. Now, sometimes in that sense, especially if you see it next to maybe a swords card, sometimes that can mean some bullying, just in the sense that the page, especially with the pentacles, that's the earth signs, and sometimes the earth signs can be scathingly critical because they have such an attention to detail. But again, sometimes when you're so narrow focused on something, it can either show up as criticism, it can show up as trolling online if you're leaving kind of negative comments, or it can be that, again, that you might have overlooked something because you're so narrow focused on one aspect and you don't see anything else. But again, when it comes to situation, it usually means, some kind of difficulties or delays, some unfavorable financial news, or, just kind of glossing over the details, or not seeing the big picture. And again, when it shows, sometimes it can also, when it shows up as a person, it can be someone who's a little superficial or a lot superficial, someone who really cares about, almost in a childish way. This could be the person that can be like, oh, look at my, if you see a video and someone's got $1 million mansion and they've got 10 million shoes and a Porsche, but you don't really see them giving to charity, or you feel like they, sometimes it can show up a little bit in that superficial way where they care about how they look financially, but that's all they care about, right? That it's how much money you have. It's not the weight of your character. That can be the page in reverse. But that, whether in the upright or in the reverse, I do think it's a wonderful card. It's always a fun time to read. But we're going to go ahead and finally get into the second part of our read, where you, the viewer, go ahead and choose your pile. We have 3 decks here. We have the Rider-Waite-Smith with the Sunstone. We have the Starseeker Tarot with a beautiful lavender quartz. And then we have the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant with our Bloodstone. We will be clarifying with the cards from James DeBraw. If you need more time, please choose from your intuition if you like the stone or the artwork, or if you're drawn to it. If you need more time, please pause the video, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. I'm going to go ahead and move up the other decks. The How to Tarots do always run a little bit longer, but I think with the power outage, I can't believe that happened. That's crazy. But we'll go ahead and get into it. So deck number 1, Rider-Waite-Smith. How does the Page of Pentacles manifest in your life? And future. Alright guys, and let's go ahead and get your card. I do have an Organite, and I'll list the name of it in the description. It's a heart Organite. So deck number 1, what is your card? Now the Four of Cups kind of wanted to pop out, so I'm going to just keep that in mind. But in your past, guys, I really get the sense that I'm getting a strong sense that it's almost like you want to be better with money, right? Your Page of Pentacles is that you might feel like I'm getting a strong sense like you always feel like you're starting with your finances. Like, you know how throughout life, you know, you might start at the entry level job and then eventually earn more money. And at some point, you know, you stop being the page and you start being the Knight of Pentacles and then the Queen of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. Here, I really get the sense like you feel like you're stuck at the page energy, right? It's like, now I do kind of get the sense that in the past, the reason why the money is not really so much forthcoming is because maybe you have the Seven of Wands in reverse underneath the Three of Cups. I do get the feeling like it's almost as if you kind of you live a very free lifestyle. Maybe in the past, you know, it's, you know, of course, you know, it's important. It's important for you to spend your money the way you want to spend it, right? Um, I overheard a great conversation between my coworkers one time. They were talking about a video game, and in the video game, it's Pokemon, right? And in the video game, you have a number of Pokeballs, right? And what it is you can earn more Pokeballs without paying any money. You know, in these games, you can buy more. And what had happened was, you know, she's like, oh well, yeah, I bought 100 more of them, and my other coworker was like, why'd you buy more? They're free. And at first, you know, the my other coworker was like, but, and then she got frustrated and she goes, don't be judging my Pokeballs. And that's what I kind of think of. It's almost like, you know, I work hard for my money. I spend it the way I want to, right? And that's part of life, right? Having hobbies, having activities. If you like to go out on the weekends with your friends, if you like to go out to eat. And I know right now we're in pandemic world. It's like, you know, all those things that we used to do. I just really feel like in the past, it's almost like, you know, it's almost like you tried to keep your guard up, you know, like you tried to say, okay, I'm going to save this money, right? I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to start a savings and I'm going to, you know, but it seems like that savings never came around because there was always someplace to go, you know, hanging out with friends, you know. I am getting kind of more of a celebration vibe. Maybe you do like to go out to eat or, you know, going out to the pub with your friends or something like that. It's almost like you lost the fight. You kept trying to fight the good fight, but so you feel like you're always stuck in the page energy, like you're not, you know, you're not getting to that escalated place of wealth. It seems like you're always kind of learning. The other way I kind of read that is that maybe in the past, you know, I do think that you're a practical person. I'm getting a strong practical vibe here where I think that you understand it. Like it's almost like you do the calculation in your head. You're like, oh gosh, you know, if all those years, if I had gone out to eat twice a week versus 5 nights a week, how much money would I have by now, right? So you're kind of turning over a new leaf, right? You're turning over a new leaf. I feel like the page is your current energy, right? And underneath it, you have the Ace of Cups, right? So that's a beautiful energy, guys. You have two aces in this. You have emotion and wands. That's awesome. And you have a major too. So what I'm really getting sense is that I think emotionally, like I feel like you're getting real stoked about this, right? You really do want to learn. You want to learn. The other thing is that quite possibly it might be in the past that you were because the other thing is that when you have joint finances, like when you're single, you know, the budget is always a little bit tighter because you're, you know, you're living in a community world, but you're supporting just yourself. Now here, it could quite honestly mean the other thing that I kind of get from this is that first off, this cup could just be your cup where you're emotionally ready to do the work. Like you're again, it could be because of pandemic, because of the time, you know, with the pandemic, you might be saying, okay, I can't go out to eat anymore. Let me use this as an opportunity to really do this, and you're feeling emotionally gung ho, right? This is almost like again with all these aces, it's very new. It's almost like okay, I'm a new me. This is the new me, and I'm gonna start off on the right foot. And this pentacle is gonna become, you know, this pentacle is the first of my 10, right? This is gonna be my 10. The other way I kind of read this too is that possibly in the past, again, I'm getting kind of like a hanging out with friends with the Three of Cups. It's quite possible that maybe you were dating, and now, the Ace of Cups can be the start of a new love. And with this new love, instead of I'm going to spend money the way I want to, um, now you're kind of like, well, I have new priorities now, right? I always think of the ace. When I see the ace, I do get kind of a daydreamy kind of feeling. I kind of get like that, how you start dreaming of the future and being like, oh, I really like this person. What if they're the one? What if we get married and buy the house? And it's almost like you're starting to think that way. This overflow of emotion is getting you all excited, and you want again, you're very enthusiastically starting off. You want to start off on a good financial foot so you can achieve everything that you want to achieve. This is a new start after, so you could have met somebody and you're starting to have this practicality. And again, this is a small start, right? This isn't the full-on king or the queen. So it's almost like you're starting to get your mindset into the perspective of, how can I make this happen? Because I'm starting to envision, and it's coming. I'm getting such positive energy from this. Again, it feels really glorious. It's really exciting to you. I am almost getting the feeling like you're kind of looking towards the future with a lot of emotional, with a full heart. Now, the future is really interesting. Is that you got the Ace of Wands and you got the Hangman, right? And the Hangman's major arcana, right? And what it is that you're real gung-ho about this project. In the future, it's another ace, so it's not like, aces are wonderful because they are the potential of something, right? It's the new idea that you have. It's the influx of money that could really take you far if you invest it right. It's the spawn of a new relationship that could result in a long-term, happiness, emotional happiness in the long run. But right now, these are just beginnings, right? What you do with it and how well it turns out is completely up to you, because you have the start. This is the beginning, right? So, but what I see here is, I see this, you're really eager in the future as you move forward. You're really eager to get this started. It's almost like you want to do this. You're gung-ho. You want to, it's almost like this is really starting to pan out and you're getting excited. But it's almost, the Hangman is a very, it's not a blocked energy, but it's a stationary energy, right? So that ace is like, let's go. But the Hanged Man is like, hold on, okay, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, right? And that's very practical. That's very practical energy. It's like, okay, I know you're excited, right? But we have to go about this the right way, right? We have to look at this from a new angle, right? The other thing is, the Hangman is a very spiritual card, right? It's about kind of being in an uncomfortable position, but seeing the benefit of that, right? So I almost get the feeling like, as if you're real excited for the future, and you have two aces, right, and a page. That's a new beginning. That's a new beginning with finances, with emotions, and with action. And you're ready to take action. You really want to take action, but it's almost like you're taking your time, right? You're going to take your time. You're going to look at this situation in a new perspective. The other thing that I'm kind of getting is that I am getting kind of like the Ace of Wands is a little bit, quote unquote, blocked by the Hanged Man energy, but it's not a bad block. It's almost like, okay, whoa, hold your horses, right? It's hold your horses. And you could be holding your horses because if you do, again, this being a page of physical, the now might not be the right time. And it might be a little bit, like it's almost like you have to rein yourself in a little bit, because you got new love, you got an exciting emotional new start, and you really want to just get the show on the road. But in order for that pentacle to really turn out the way that you want it to be, and for you to actually get everything, because you're learning this, right? You want to be better with money, or you want to get the physical outcome that you're going for. But I do think that it's important for you. I think you're biding your time, and while you're biding your time, you are taking a spiritual stance. Like you're almost, you see, he's enlightened, right? It's uncomfortable to have to wait. It's uncomfortable to turn the situation on its head. The other thing is that I think you're almost, I do get the sense like you want to go forward and you have all of the opportunity to really have a good start, but you almost can't right now. But when you can, like, and again, this could be related to what's going on in the world, when you are ready to go forward, you're gonna understand that this pause, or this sitting still was crucially important. Like it was an important step in order for you to move forward correctly. And I think this, all of your previous experience, it's interesting on your life journey. I really believe that there's no wasted experiences. Sometimes you feel like, well, I was doing this for so long, it was just a waste of time. I don't think there's such a thing as being a waste of time. I think every experience in your life really teaches you something. And again, no one's judging you for how you spent your life. The only person that can judge you is you, right? Who cares what anybody else thinks? It's your life. But I do think in the future you're going to see something from kind of a spiritual perspective, and it is going to kind of slow down your new start. It's going to make sure that when you time, that when you do take action, that it's going to be the right action at the right time and for the right reason. But the oracle card that you got forgiveness. I acknowledge that harboring resentment blocks the flow of love. And especially with the Ace of Cups and the love in that. One other thing that this could kind of be is that possibly in the past, you might have had some kind of obligation to something. Maybe you had an obligation. I almost get the feeling like you might have felt like you couldn't save enough money because you were kind of tied up in a group setting, like a group mentality, and it's almost like you can't fight the group. Maybe this is family or friends, or just something that you kind of had to invest in, right? And even though it kind of depleted you financially, it's something that you had to participate in, and it's something you enjoyed participating in. It's not like it was not like it was torture to do this, but you kind of feel like it might have it might have stunted you, where you feel like, okay, I'm starting over, even though I had all this time to learn this. And I think that you almost have to kind of forgive. The other thing is you might need to forgive yourself a little bit. Again, maybe if this is like a love situation, maybe you really did not, you only thought about yourself, right? You didn't really think about other people. You kept it loose, and now that you might have something that you want to invest in, now the money is not as much there, and you want to learn how to do this. So it's almost like forgiving yourself for past mistakes, possibly forgiving others. It's not anybody's fault. It's just there's no bad time to start again, right? No bad time. Just go ahead and and I do think that you're gonna pause as you go forward. You're gonna pause, and you're really gonna decide to do this, to learn this the right way, right? That's the other thing with the page. Learn things the right way. All right, so deck number 2, we got the beautiful Starseeker Tarot. I do love this page. This is one of the cards that really, I just knew that it was going to be in the How to Tarot. So deck number 2, how does the Page of Pentacles? Oh my gosh, we got the Hanged Man again. That's going to be our common denominator. Okay, middle of the deck. Woo. And then next card. Oh, wow, what beautiful energy, guys. Gosh, guys. Let's go ahead and get your oracle cards. Deck number 2. Patience. Oh, if that's not a Page of Pentacles concept. And I'm definitely getting a theme here, guys. All right, so deck number 2. In the past, In the past, you got the Hanged One, which is the Hanged Man, and this is such a beautiful card. You see, he's like leaning back, and he looks like he's reaching up to touch the moon, right? This is a very comfortable Hanged Man, right? Well, guys, I think in the past, your Page of Pentacles energy is that you have, I'm right off the cuff, you have no problem. You have no problem at all taking your time in learning something, right? It's almost like you relish it. I'm getting a strong sense of relishing it. Again, you see this pentacle and he's staring at it like it's the most beautiful thing, and it's right in the middle of his book, right? And again, the Hanged One, it looks like he's playing with the moon, right? I think that you're a lifelong learner. I think that you enjoy learning things. I think you have no problem with like reading manuals and texts. And I just think that you get the sense, I am getting a strong sense that you have a lot of knowledge, both spiritual and practical. I'm actually being drawn to the crystal that's in the background here, so I'm almost getting the sense like this is professional knowledge that you've gained over time. You know what I'm almost kind of getting is that I think that you might have read a lot of books about spiritualism. I'm hearing almost like astrology, or maybe you like to read about all of it. I'm really kind of, with all the stacks of books, it's almost like maybe you just like New Age. Maybe you've read about astrology, you've read about, tarot, you've read about Reiki, you've read about, Kundalini. I just really get the sense that you enjoy reading about whatever you're passionate about, you love reading. And, this could be environment. The reason that I'm getting more of a spiritual kind of New Age vibe is because the Hanged One is a spiritual card. It's about kind of taking yourself out of the present situation and seeing the higher purpose of it, right? And again, the fact that he's looking at the moon, like he can play with it, like it's a beach ball, right? And, we do have another pentacle card here, which is really great. But the other thing is that I'm kind of getting the vibe that you know so much, but it's almost like you know so much about a subject that's not considered very mainstream, that because you can be an expert in something, but like for instance, I study astrology, and I have attended courses formally where I actually have a certificate, that says, okay, almost like a college course, it says, okay, you've earned 3 credits in learning this type of astrology. But when you think about it, I could never have a college degree in astrology, right? It's not taught in colleges, it's taught in New Age schools. It could also be like a trade kind of thing. But with the Hanged Man being in your past, I really get the sense that you have so much knowledge, like you really are. But people almost look at you like you're a page because you have so much knowledge, but it's in a field that's not considered mainstream. So therefore, but you love to continue to learn. It's almost like that's your passion. You love to stay new in your knowledge of these experiences. Now, in the past, you really, again, you were very, I get the sense like you've been very suspended in it. Again, I get like a kind of a go with the flow. It's almost like, okay, well, I can't get a college degree in this, but I like learning about it. So let me learn about this New Age concept, or let me, and it doesn't have to be New Age. I know, I imagine that I do have probably a lot of card readers who watch me too. I don't know. Please let me know in the comments if you study New Age as well. I'm assuming a lot of people do. Maybe you don't throw cards for yourself, but you know enough about it, right? Maybe it's something as simple as that. Maybe you don't throw cards for yourself, but you watch card readings, and I mean, goodness knows, this is how to tarot, right? This is how to tarot, and you enjoy it, right? But you feel like you're perpetually a page, even though you know so much about it. You could probably, I probably, if I just did a freeze frame and showed you your cards, you could probably figure out, your own reading. But I do just think I'm getting such a spiritual, it's almost like, and again, the Hanged One is about being in suspension. It's about non-action. So I get the feeling like, I do get the feeling like you're kind of a bookworm about it too. But it's almost like you're in absolutely no rush, because there's really no end, and there's no end game, right? It's what you enjoy reading about, you have a wealth of knowledge for, but you just kind of play with it. You're like, let me, I have no place to be. I'm just gonna suspend myself in air and enjoy this. Now, your current energy is really quite beautiful. You got the extra card in this deck, and the extra card in this deck is called the Womb. So what you see is you kind of see what looks like a C, and you see somebody who's, it looks like almost like an embryo, right? Like, or it's a little bit of an Empress card. And again, it was in the reverse, and it's card number 22, and the Hanged Man is number 12. And technically the Fool is 0, so really it's the 23rd card, but the Womb is an extra card in this deck. It's not part of the Major Arcana. And she in the book, I don't have the book with me, but it's about surrender, right? And the Hanged Man is about surrender, right? They're both cards of suspension. The Womb in particular is a card of incubation, right? It's saying that something's developing. It's a little bit of a divine timing card too. It's like saying the universe has you in utero, right? But what I'm seeing is with this card being in the reverse, and you can almost see it, the kind of lines. I love this deck because I think she really intended it to be read both ways. You see this kind of soft, kind of roundedness. It does look like a womb, right? But here, it looks like her feet are about to come out, right? What that kind of tells me is that I really get the sense, with these being real spiritual, and the next card we have is another Pentacle card, and Pentacles mean the real world, right? I'm getting the sense that this knowledge that you have, you can make it, you can have it serve you in the real world, right? You have, again, I'm getting a real spiritual vibe with this, and this is pile 2, and you got 22 card. It's almost like, it's with the Womb being in reverse, it's almost like you need to come out of the womb. And when you come out of the womb, the top of it is the Page, right? I really get a sense that whatever it was that you've learned, whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever you've been in suspension about, and you please tell me, I'm really curious. I'm getting really positive energy from this, guys. The other thing is that it's kind of, it feels like a yin and yang energy. It feels like such a flow because you've got a lot of water energy and you've got a lot of earth. You feel like a real steady person. You're very practical, and it's almost like, again, you have such a deep mind for this, but you're so spiritual with it too. It's almost like if you take that spiritual knowledge and dare to bring it out in the real world, if you come out of suspension with it, if you say, okay, I'm going to come out of the womb, right? I'm going to be born into this, right? You can take this spiritualism, this understanding that you have, and you can turn it into something really practical. And honestly, can you look at the hair on both of these characters, right? It looks like, it's almost like you can be born into something. You can turn these gifts, these skills, into something physical. And the greatest thing, and this is where this gets absolutely gorgeous, guys, is that your next card, you got the 9 of Pentacles. And we just had a tarot on the 9 not too long ago. And this is the independent person card. This is the person who has enough money to support themselves, and they call all the shots. And the other thing is that with the Falcon, it's a sign of self-control, right? It's determination. And that's such a Pentacles concept too, because I just really get the sense, and again, the hair on all 3 of these characters are very similar. I think whatever it is that has had you in suspension in the past, maybe you thought that it was just a side interest. It was nothing that you thought would ever serve you in the real world. But it's telling you, you've incubated and you've learned, you've been in suspension for so long. Your present energy is come out of suspension and make this real. take what you know and make it real. I do get a sense that you might have to do a little bit of practical work. Like you might have to marry these two energies, you know, spiritual and practical. But I do feel like both of these traits are very strong in you. I can feel it. And your future of this, if you do go ahead and just bring these, you know, talents out to the world. And again, you can start small. This is a page. You can learn how to do this. Your future is the Nine of Pentacles. I really think that whatever it is that you know how to do can turn into, I'm really almost hearing like a side hustle, side hobby that could actually turn into a career, or even a second job that would give you enough abundance where you would be very well off, right? In the real world, right? You know, you would turn that pentacle into 9, right? And all you have to do is learn how to do it. You know, it's almost, again, it's almost like just, you know, merging. Coming. The other thing is that I feel like this is telling you that you're fully baked now, right? You know, you spent 9 months in the womb, or you've spent enough time for this to come to fruition, whatever it is. And right now I really get a sense this presently is your time to emerge, right? It's your time to be born and to grow. And it's really going to take you far. It's really going to take you far, whatever this is. Because I really do feel like you've been suspended for too long. Not in a bad way. You've learned a lot from it. And it's very spiritual. The other thing is I feel like you're very enlightened. It's almost like, the other thing that I kind of get is that you're so enlightened, because again, these are majors. It's almost like your high priestess is like off the chart, right? Your spiritual understanding is like, you've kind of mastered that. Now it's like, okay, you know, let me learn how to balance my checkbook now, you know? And the other thing I'm kind of getting is whatever you learn how to do, you learn how to do very, very well, which is definitely, remember, that's a page concept. You know, you would be very diligent. The same fervor that you put into your spiritual understanding, you would put into your real world understanding, and that would take you so far. Like you're going from page to 9, 1 to 9. That and I feel like this would come, it would grow in a steady way, like it would be a solid foundation, but I do feel like this future is closer than you think it is, right? Like this could really, you know, you could accumulate wealth faster than you imagine. The other thing is the card that you got patience. I accept that everything happens in divine order. Oh my gosh, guys. Look at this. Everything happens in divine order. Suspension. This is a divine timing card. The womb. Divine order. You need time to incubate, right? Wow, that's powerful. That's really crazy. And it looks like a pentacle too. It's like, but you know, so whatever time you've dedicated to something has been well earned. The other thing is that maybe in the past you did feel like things were going really slow. I mean, you made the best of it. You saw the lessons in it. But wow, guys, yeah, you got the 9 of Pentacles in your future, and your patience will really pay off. It's almost like you needed that time to really develop, and everything, you know, does happen in divine order, and it will really manifest in the physical world for you. That's a beautiful read. I love these cards. All right, last but not least, we got our third deck, the Slow Tarot, so by Lacey Bryant. Let's go ahead and see, how does the Page of Pentacles manifest in your life? Go ahead. So let's see. Okay, Page of Coins. The past. What's our past? And then our present. Oh, wow. And our future, please. Oh, holy Toledo, guys. Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and get your Oracle card. Okay, let me shuffle a little bit more. All right. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and see. Now, excuse me, I'm going to cough a little. Excuse me. Now, in the past, you got the Five of Coins, and what it looks is, it's kind of hard to see with the lighting, but you see someone who's got a little bit of a panhandling going on, right? You know, someone who's got a hoodie on, and they're asking for coins, right? You got coins going into your jar. And then above it, you got the Ace of Swords. So I definitely get the sense. I'm getting the sense that it's quite clear, really. In the past, you didn't have a lot of money, right? In the past, it was definitely a thing where there was not a sense of abundance, right? It could be that we were really living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe maybe you felt like you weren't earning enough, or it just really you felt a sense of lack, right? You felt a sense of lack. And what it was is that you were living that way. You were doing what you got to do, but it really did. It made you. It made you feel less than, right? It was, it could be a lot of bills, a lot of financial. It could be something legal that really, kind of hindered you, or made it where you really had to kind of live on less. And but above it, you got the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords is breakthrough. It's mental breakthrough, right? And what it is that I really do. Again, all the aces are the hands coming out from the sky. It's the hands coming out from the ether. So the universe provided you with a breakthrough, right? You had some kind of mental epiphany, either that, or I've always noticed the folks who really have known lack, right? You hear stories about it all the time. There are famous authors who were on federal aid. They had no money. They were really down and out before they made it big, right? So, and it's something about those trials, right? Sometimes those trials really test us, and you never forget that energy, right? It's like you never forget being that down and out, right? But what it does is it when you're that pressured, there's success is your only option. There's no other option, right? You have to get out of this energy. You have to get away from lack. And so it puts you up in your head, and it makes you start thinking. And I really do think the universe sends you ideas. Like, the universe doesn't want anybody to be in pain or to be hindered, especially financially or health-wise. Sometimes this can be a health card. The pentacles definitely mean the physical body. But in the past, you were in the not a real good place financially, and you had a breakthrough, right? The breakthrough could have been an idea. It could have been like something that just came to mind, like a plan. The other thing is your current energy is about planning, right? But you got an idea. Okay, this is what I can do to get out of this situation, right? This is what I can do to handle where I'm at, and to get to move forward, to get away from this Five of Pentacles energy. And it really was. It's a good idea. It's like, it's like the light coming out. You see beams of light reflecting off the sword. It's almost like, the sun coming out from the clouds, right? So it's your mindset of I am. The other thing is, it's like a strong constitution. I will rise above this, right? The other thing is with the hummingbirds, I really do think that it's almost like you have to put yourself into overdrive. I'm kind of hearing that it's almost, how like when you're going up a hill, you have to really push the gas. It's kind of like that. You might be experiencing times where you had to work extra hard in order to make this happen, but it's it's like following your idea at full speed, to get away from this energy. You got an idea, you're going to go for it, you're going to put the effort into it. Now, your present energy, again, is such a good energy, because I do think that you have broken away. Again, whatever idea you had, whatever plan that you came to your brain, you put the extra oomph into it, and now you're in the Page of Coins energy, which is great. You're no longer, I think you're in a much better place. You're no longer in that poverty kind of place. You don't have a lot of money, but you have a little, right? The other thing is I am definitely with the lemonade stand, I'm getting kind of like a entrepreneurial vibe. Like you now, she has that coin, right? You know, she has that coin. How's she going to turn that one coin into many more, right? And underneath that, the page, you got the Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands is great. I love this depiction because you see it looks like a map and someone's like charting, you know, you see a globe in the background. You're charting where you're going to go, right? So you do have humble beginnings here. You don't have all the money in the world right now, but you're not impoverished, and that's and it's almost like you see how she's holding that coin, like, yes, look at it, it's gold, it's mine. I really get a sense, again, as people, we never forget hardship, right? If you've had hardship in your past, you're like, now I got my gold coin. Where's it going to take me, right? How do I plan my way ahead? And I am getting a sense like you just keep on going, right? The other thing is that you don't rest in your laurels. You keep going. Sometimes this can be a business kind of thing. The Two of Wands is talking about having one established idea and then, now having another one, like looking out at another opportunity. So, and this is going from an Ace of Swords to the Two of Wands. So I really get the sense that you're going to keep on trucking, right? You're not even going to slow down. You've gotten out of a bad phase by, really punching it and working hard and going with your ideas. Now you want your first idea to kind of graduate to a new one. You want to move on. I am kind of hearing moving on to bigger and better things, but it's not in a pompous way. I think you really, you remember very clearly where you've been, and you do not want to go back there. So you're going to you want to learn, okay, how do I take this new seed of opportunity? How do I plan and go forward? And you're mapping it out, right? And you are on to the next thing, because the other thing is Wands is energy. It's actual action, right? And you have the one wand as your first action. Now you're on to your second action. So your ideas have paid off. And now it's like your lemonade stand, you're getting off the ground, right? And you want to keep on going. Now your future is really quite beautiful, guys. This is really good energy, because you got the Hierophant and you got the Queen of Coins. You got the Queen of Pentacles. And the rabbit really means abundance, right? Now the Hierophant is another spiritual card, but it really means it's representative of an institution, right? It's representative of an institution. So what that really tells me is that I get the sense it does feel a little bit like an incorporation, but the other thing about the Pentacles is it's the Hierophant is definitely also, I'm hearing tradition, right? You're sticking, as you move forward, and this could be a business, this could be a startup business that actually takes you really far. I think that you're going to go from the Page of Coins to being the Queen of Coins. That's beautiful, guys. That's you're jumping over the knight and going for the queen. The other thing about this is that I think that you are going to have material abundance. This is so great. The middle deck had a really great outcome too. You are going to achieve that stability, right? And the other thing that I get is that with the queens being nurturers, right? They nurture. I think that you are going to give back. I think that you've known lack. And I think once you have enough to support yourself, you are going to use that to help others. I do also think that you're going to, the Hierophant can definitely be a spiritual teacher. So I do think that maybe you might also lead others or inspire others. But I do think that once you become established, right? Like once you get established with your finances, it's going to be very tried and true. I'm getting like a steadiness, right? Again, an institution, right? I feel like, you know, and again, with the Hierophant, it's about, um, it is about the status quo, but I just get the sense that you know, things were very veritable when you didn't have a whole lot of money. You know, this could be kind of ups and downs with your finances, and you might have had to kind of start over a little bit, or you might have had to learn how to be more practical with your money, but you really planned it out. The other thing is, I'm really getting a sense of, you know, step by step. You took this step by step. And I do think that you can inspire others by your story. I am really kind of getting like a, you know, like that story that, you know, you really came from nothing and you built yourself up, right? And I do think that you, in the future, you will have enough to not only support yourself, but to give back to others. The other thing is that when you see her hands, she's got like open hands, and the Hierophant has open hands too. You know, it's almost like you do want to care for others, and um, you want to be a mentor to other people. And I think you will. I think you're gonna give back. You know, you're gonna give back to help others who've experienced the same thing that you have. Um, the other thing is that it's quite possible that maybe you will give back more in time in terms of spirituality. Maybe you will participate or volunteer with your church. You could give money or donate to causes that are like spiritual, like you might donate to church or a charitable causes. Um, but I am getting a sense of a little bit. The other thing is that I do think that once you're established, it is going to be a little bit conventional. You're going to stay in a very practical mindset. Like you are going to be very, I'm very tried and true, right? Like you're gonna you're gonna be in a very very stable place in the future. But I do see that, and again with the nurturance, you are going to make sure that other people are okay, and that you know you'll give to good causes, and possibly maybe even mentor or give to charity. Now, the card that you got is you got empathy, and it says, I am open to seeing both sides of the situation, right? And again, you know what? I really do get the sense, like the two sides of the situation. I think that you've been there, right? I think the reason that you have empathy is because I think in your past that, you know, you may have known lack, and you might have known what it's like to have to start from scratch. The other thing is that sometimes, you know, there are times in life where we get what you know what my dad always used to call being busted down to corporal. You know, sometimes there's moments either financially or, you know, job wise, where you take a hit, you know, and it leaves you in a place. But it's always a journey. And I do think the universe, you know, sometimes it can be a little jarring, but I'm getting a real practicality with you, though. You know how to map out, you know how to follow a plan and to get where you're going. And I am getting a very entrepreneurial, but I do just get the sense that I feel like you have a strong empathy for others, and you wouldn't want anybody to go, you know, to have it as hard as you did. I do also think that you serve. Again, I am getting a strong mentor. The symbol on the card almost kind of looks like the pattern in the Hierophant's cloak. So, but I do think that, you know, the other one last interpretation I get from this is that I think, you know, you have the way that there's a pentacle behind her head. You've ever seen the stained glass in churches where, you know, the Mother Mary, you know, has like a halo. It almost looks like a halo, right? She looks like an angel. And what that just kind of tells me is that I also, the other thing that I get from this is that I really get the sense that your humble beginnings and how far you've come, it's made you are, you know, the Queen of Pentacles, she's a wealthy person, but in this context, you are not superficial, right? Like you're not frivolous with money, but you're not, you're not penny pinching. You understand. The other thing that I kind of get from that is that, the pentacles are what are about value, like what you value. And I think you have a strong spiritual morality when it comes to money, and because of everything that you've gone through. You have an empathy for others, but it's almost as if you want to teach, you want to share that, that experience, so people have that strong sense of what is valuable. The other thing that I kind of get from that is that, even though you have enough and you've come a long way and you've earned everything that you have, I think that money doesn't buy happiness, right? You have a sense of self-worth that is outside of anything physical that you own or possess. And I think that's based on your spirituality. I also get a sense that people almost really look up to you as a mentor, because you've ever met those really warm people who are just so generous, right? I'm getting generosity from this. And it's because, and it's not pity, it's empathy, right? We've all been there, done that, got the jacket, how to not let it tear you down, how to rise above it and still, have enough, and have enough for both yourselves and others. But wow, guys, that's a beautiful read. Honestly, all three of these reads were fabulous. I'm really glad that we didn't have to read it in candlelight. I'd actually turned off my phone for a little while just to save battery, but that was wild. That doesn't happen every day, so I hope you guys don't mind. But I hope you enjoyed. It is going to be a little bit of a crazy week this week, but we will be still doing the weekly energy card reading. It's just a 3-card spread to see what our week's going to bring. That will be posted on Saturday. And I hope you enjoyed, and I thank you for stopping by, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.